Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. Today I want to be ranking Rose Nude Valentine's Day palettes and whether or not the new releases are worth it, and I'll also be comparing it with previous releases. So I'm going to look at the Charlotte Tilbury Pillow Talk palette as well as the Natasha Denona Love palette, comparing it to the Urban Decay Cherry palette, as well as comparing it to the Divine Rose and the previous Charlotte Tilbury. So we have some very interesting comparisons coming up, and the first one I'll look at is the Charlotte Tilbury palette. But first, before I get into the detail, if you're new to my channel, make sure that you're subscribed because I'm still giving away the Star Wars Pat McGrath Decadence palette this month. I know it was supposed to be last month as well, but I decided to extend the giveaway because of the price point. And if you're new to my channel, every month I have a giveaway. This month I just happened to extend it because of the price point, but going forward it will be once a month. So make sure you're subscribed to be entered, and I'll leave the details down below on how you can enter. So first I want to look at the Charlotte Tilbury palette. This palette is described as a dreamy 12 shade palette. Basically you have 4 different looks that you can create for day and night, and like this first section, which is like darker pink and then lighter pink and then more like fun peachy pink on each of these quads. So if you want something more versatile with like your pinks and peaches, I guess this has that kind of look for you if you're really interested in that. It's also made in Italy and it has an 18-month shelf life. Well, it does look like it's just 50 shades of peach. At the end of the day, I would say this palette is very beginner friendly, and all the colors show up without any issues on the skin. So I kind of think it's very unique in the fact that it has the peach colors in it. But if you went to compare this with, for example, the Naked Cherry, you'll see that the tones in the Naked Cherry palette are more towards like the mauve purple shades. So if I want to compare them side by side together, which is the question a lot of people ask, is it really the same as Naked Cherry? You'll see that they're really not the same. They're really two different kinds of color stories altogether. For example, with the Naked Cherry, you start off with a lot of like white champagne colors, and then it starts to build up towards more like a burgundy and then a deep brown, and eventually gets to a very dark color. So it really starts from like a bright and white color and goes towards a burgundy. But then if you compare it side by side with the Charlotte Tilbury, this is like spectrum is more darker there versus the Charlotte Tilbury, which the spectrum is more peachy tone. So I just think that the Naked Cherry is more mauve and cherry colored, and that one's more peachy colored. They do complement each other. If you have one, you can still get the other one. It's not a total waste. But then the next palette I want to look at is the Natasha Denona palette, and to see if there's any similarity between the swatches of the Charlotte Tilbury and Naked Cherry. When I swatch them next together, you see you have peaches again, so there's like lots of peachy colors again, and you see some of the shades don't really even show up on my skin at all, and some of the reds and orange tones do show up. And then there's that one duochrome color that really like shows up, and then blue, and then the rest are so. This one gray, then this one, this, and here. So these are the Natasha Denona shades. Some of them are definitely patchy. They're definitely not showing up. These are a few that show up, and then everything else is so. So for like some of the shades, if you can just buy some of the shades, then I guess it's worth it. But these are just simple, like they don't show up. So your best bet for me so far, the Naked Cherry is outperforming. The Charlotte Tilbury is good, but the Natasha Denona is so. Now, another thing I wanted to talk about here is this duochrome in here. So the duochrome in the Star Wars palette, that one duochrome that we have, This duochrome, if you pick this shade up, it's such a super sweet duochrome. I don't know if you can see, but it's such a super duochrome. And if you take that one duochrome and compare it side by side with the Natasha Denona, it's definitely more intense with the Natasha Denona shade. And then another thing is that question is that people ask, if you have the Starry Eyes palette, do you need the Charlotte Tilbury one? So if you guys have a look here, the Charlotte Tilbury here, okay, this one, there's like some similarities between one or two, three of them, but the rest there's not. So for that, you have to ask if you want those peach shades or not. And if you don't, then obviously you don't need to get them. So that's my opinion on that. Next is the Divine Rose palette. The Divine Rose palette, you have a nice pink in there, and you have this one shade that you cannot duplicate anywhere else, and everything else is like a brown basically, so those don't really compare. But so far, as far as my thoughts, what if you really want a nude palette, still Naked Cherry is doing pretty damn good. I would still, I know it went on sale, but I still think that the Naked Cherry is a pretty damn good palette. Next, probably the Pillow Talk eye palette, because it's just so good. Then you want the Natasha Denona as a third, and then those two are not the same with the Star Wars. So there's my thoughts, guys. I just love the Naked Cherry, and like this is just good. But Natasha Denona, it's a hit or miss palette, so you really have to ask yourself if it's worth it for just half of the palette working out. Anyway, as always, thank you so much for watching so much. Again, let me know in the comment section below what your thoughts are and what your favorite palettes are. And I hope that you're subscribed, and I will see you guys next time. Thank you.